Hello everyone, my name is Robert Groom and I'm doing my land proposal project on the 100 acres down area. So this is a quick little picture that I have of the area that I went and visited to show you the land. As you can see, it's got tons of loblolly pine and some other sproutings of a lot of blue stem and everything else, as Broom says. We're going to go ahead and right on into it. So the reason for this plan is to create a Piedmont Prairie in the property of PH Timber LLC land in Newberry County, South Carolina. They don't really want to actually get rid of the timber production. They just mainly, this is more of a hypothetical cost effective analysis proposal for them to try to offset the cost due to volatile timber markets. So as you can see, it's going to be cost sharing grants with the Environmental Quality Incentives Program, or EQIP, and also using the cost sharing analysis with hunters of South Carolina, but leasing them out the hunting rights for them. So the property is actually located in Silver Street, Newberry County of South Carolina, and it's owned by PH Timber. As I previously stated, they hired American Forest Management to manage the land for loblolly pine timber harvest, and they also hired Larson & McGowan LLC for the taxes. Introduction to the 100 acres was actually originally collection of lands bought up by Champion Paper in the 1950s and 60s for timber harvest. Champion Paper was actually bought out by International Paper in the early 2000s. Then we get on to where PH Timber bought the land from them. As previously stated, American Forest Management manages it, and then American Forest Management is the one who manages the leases out to the Belfast Heritage Hunting Club, and they call that section of property that they hunt the 100 acres. Going on to the objectives: to restore the area to historic Piedmont Prairie. As previously stated, it's been a pine plantation for decades, so many of the local grassland species have been losing their native populations. By adding Piedmont prairies back into the ecoregion of South Carolina, it will allow their native populations to rebound exponentially, especially bobwhite quail or Colonus virginianus. Going on to the second thing is to reduce invasive species found within the 100 acres. I've actually already observed bull thistle there. That was the main one that I found in tons of different pockets all over the management, and it would be considered to be observed and monitored along. Monitor woody encroachment from neighboring pine forests. There's still many pine forests that they use for timber markets to sell and make money off of, because that's what their job is. So we're going to be monitoring the spread of that to hopefully decrease, so that way that area can still be a local grassland. Then number 4, after we grow and maintain the land, we want to continue to maintain it. See, first of all, we create an area for them to thrive, but then we got to continue maintain the area and also keep up proper record keeping and cooperation with the Belfast Heritage Hunting Club. Going on to the exact location, the 100 acres is 5.5 miles south of the Belfast Wildlife Management Area, where they actually have a lot of their dove fields, so you'll actually see a good amount of mourning doves down there. Going on, it's also 15.5 miles west of Newberry City in South Carolina. It's also some small number of houses that are just south of the 100 acres. You just pass one by if you're coming up from the south. And it's 1 to 2 miles east of South Carolina Highway 56, which is very small right there, but once you start getting up to the bigger city of Spartanburg, you'll see how big it is. Going on, the actual coordinates to find the 100 acres, because it doesn't have an actual address, is that longitude and latitude respectively. The max elevation is about 145 meters, the lowest elevation is about 124 meters, median elevation is about 138. Going on to the actual size of the 100 acres is only about 87.7 acres according to American Forest Management, and the actual proposal for this area of this project I'm doing is only 80.4 acres, because they like to leave a buffer edge with a few trees just to help kind of control the area better. Going on to the soil complex, or the soil types, it's about 38% Prosperity Bush River Helena Complex, or PMB. Winsboro Sandy Loam is about 32%, which is WMB. Why not Winsboro Complex, or WYC2, is 20%. Cecil Sandy Loam is 8.2%, and Hard Labor Sandy Loam is about 11.1%, or HAB, respectively. The CFB2 and the WYC2 are both moderately eroded. There's actually no other really erosion problems there. And also, the entire area is very well drained except for HAB and PMB, which are only moderately well drained. Going on to vegetation, this is a picture of some of the vegetation, which is primarily loblolly pine, if you can tell, with a little bit of That's actually a little bit of raspberry. I think local raspberries or blackberries growing on. I think it's blackberries. It's sawtooth blackberry. That's what it was. A little bit of that's growing on the edge, and a few other bloom sedge and other things. Now, it was fully harvested for loblolly pine 2 years ago, and it was replanted with loblolly pine about a year ago. Current domination of vegetation is the broom-sized blue stem and Indian grass, about 40%. Replanted loblolly pines are only about 35%. Remaining percentages found in pockets of sawtooth blackberries and invasive bull thistles. There's also the mix of forbs and other bunch grasses as well, including some clother and even a corn stalk I found at one point, or a dead corn stalk that had actually grown there. Going on to the maps, this map shows you the border of the area of the region and also the soil sites. This map shows you my burn rotation and also legend of the trail roads that have been created, along with a deer stand that used to be there that I found, and then also the gate openings. This is a picture of that little spot right there at the edge with me. I took that picture. That's my dad on a quad runner that he would not let me use unless he came with me, so that's why he's there. Going on to management recommendations. First of all is the burn controls, or control burns. Going on to part the land 6 roughly equal areas, as I previously showed, and they're going to separate into three non-adjacent parts. Pair two non-adjacent parts into 3 separate burn rotations. One track's going to be burned every year between mid-March and mid-May for a 3-year rotation, so the land can be stimulated for fresh growth of local grassland species. Also, we're going to join the Piedmont Prescribed Fire Cooperative because they have the necessary experience, guidance, and equipment to help. This is a tractor and a bush hog that I will be bringing on. That's a 2000s John Deere 970 or 790, I think it's 970, diesel tractor, and then that is a backhoe bush hog 665H. And then going on to disking. Currently, the only disking that's done is by members of the Belfast Hunting Club to make their own trails throughout the 100 acres. It's usually done from between June and September. Now, to create the optimal time frame, for disking and mowing, which would be January 2nd, which is the first day after hunting season, or deer hunting season, because most of them are deer hunters, all the way into early March. We will be disking with all tracts of land except the most recent one that had prescribed burns, unless there's rapid overgrowth or for invasive species control. The top picture is a 1949 Ford tractor, our 8N tractor with a RM 500 rotary cutter, and then or finish mower. I think it's basically kind of the same thing. And then there's this bottom one is actually a 1950 Ferguson TT20 with a Clipper 500 finish mower. Both of those are actually in my family that I've used many times. Going on to the next one, management recommendation number 3: planting if needed. Currently, besides planting of loblolly pine, there's really nothing else there besides the forgotten food plots or clover patch as mentioned previously. I do believe the Natural Seed Bank is actually hardy enough that no planting will necessary, but just in case, we will purchase seeds from Ernest Seeds at about $14.03 per pound and with a potential cover crop from Sustained Seeds and soils, and we'll be planting at the beginning of July and early March after disking and mowing is planted if needed. If it's also needed, we will purchase a county line capacity fertilizer spreader and seeder, which is about $940 USD with all the parts needed to attach it to the diesel tractor. Going on to measurements of success, the first year we'll be conducting a year-long species inventory to get an accurate record of our population numbers before proper management is being conducted, because we like to have a frame point. Going on, there will be a point count survey conducted for breeding birds from late May to early July with 41 randomized points that have a 250-meter circle area away from each other, so that way it will decrease the chance of double counting. Going on to, we will also be working with the SCDNR to conduct species surveys on white-tailed deer and wild turkey, along with working with the Belfast Heritage Hunting Club for harvest reports and spottings of potential species and invasives, just to keep all accurate information. This is a picture of the invasive bull thistle, one of the pockets that I found, just to show that it is there. Going on to our schedule of management, again, the first year is going to be nothing but year-long study for a species inventory. Going on to year 2, as we started disking from January 2nd to March, except for the most recent burn plots. Going on to planting if needed from January to March. Control burns from mid-March, mid-May. Burn rotation 1, we'll be following that up with different burn rotations every year. And then we have our breeding bird survey from late May to early June. Turkey during April and May, all the way from deer whitetail deer from mid-September to December, all the way to small game and non-game for year-round, just because a lot of those kind of go out in and out from out the entire year, and then it's just going to be repeated, and then we will make adjustments upon going on to year 5 and onward, because most plans aren't really as rigid. They need to be fluid, and that's kind of what we're going for. And then going on to our budget for people, 5 employees at $25 an hour. I believe in paying people what they're worth, and I believe from research that's what they're going to be worth. About at 40 hours, it's about $5,000 per each. One tank of diesel fuel on our diesel tractor, assuming per day if we're using maximum use, is about $31 and some change. Tractor maintenance, so it's going to be about $500 per year annually, determined on my own experience working on tractors. Going on to non-fuel ethanol for everything, including the Suzuki Quad Runner, is going to be about $58 per day for using all their tanks. The one-time purchase of the seed spreader, which is about $940. The equipment maintenance, which is going to be about $850 from doing equipment maintenance myself. Going on to buying seeds, about $14.03. For all that acres of seeds, will be about 885 pounds, which is about $12,000 and $12,416. Going on to the potential cover crop, which is, you can buy from them. You can buy $760 at 2,000 pounds or a ton, and then you can buy 45-pound bags for $17.10, which equates to about $931 for just that year if needing to be planted. And then also joining the Piedmont Prescribed Fire Cooperative membership fee, which is at $50. So as you can see, it can get very expensive very fast, but cost-saving initiative to help regrow our historic Piedmont prairies. Thank you for your time. I would love to hear your feedback from how I could use to improve this. I look forward to watching all your presentations, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day.